Hello, my name is Maciek, I'm the developer at 7bulls.com, and today I will make a presentation on Melodic platform. The idea is quite simple. We have an application and we want to launch it using cloud. I will show you how we can optimize this process. As a first step, Melodic would find the optimal configuration of virtual machines for our application. Later, when it is already running, it can do even more. Based on data gathered from those virtual machines, based on those metrics, it can launch reconfiguration process. And at the end, we would have a better, more optimal configuration. Throughout the presentation, I will also point out the additional tools that Melodic provide. It is worth mentioning that today I will be using a new feature provided into Melodic, which is integration with a new cloud provider, OneStep Cloud. As you can see, I have here Melodic already installed. In this window, I have list of cloud providers already implemented integrated to Melodic. One of them is mentioned before, OneStep. Here you can see credential already put on as I had to prepare earlier, create the account using OneStep panel. You can see my login, unfortunately not my password. I need to save them. And then I can proceed with launching the application. We go to deployment. You can see that I already uploaded model of our application, which is called Genome. It is worth mentioning that I had to prepare this model using camel language that helps us to define all those metrics and all those requirements or other details that are needed for a Melodic to deploy the application. Thanks to this, Melodic would be able to find the optimal solution. We can go further. We need to choose our cloud provider. So you can see multiple are available. And then we can start with the deployment. It takes a few seconds, but we will be in few moments moved to a window with deployment. Okay. Here we have 5 main steps, but as the entire process takes few minutes, I will start with a brief explanation of our application called Genome. Genome is using Spark, which is a platform for distributed big data computations. With component called Spark Master, it has 500 to 600 simulations, like jobs that needs to be proceeded. The Melodic would start then worker, beginning with one, that will be proceeding those jobs. We also put constraints inside mentioned before Camel that we need 1 hour to finish all those jobs. Moving back to the workflow, you can see the first step is called fetching offers. Here is the first moment where Melodic is connecting into cloud provider. It is getting information about all the processes, about all the resources that are available in the cloud, like hardware configuration, location, where physically virtual machines will be located, and images. Those are setups for with CPU or with CPU count or RAM storage count. This is locations and images like Ubuntu, for example. Normally, when we are using other cloud providers, we would have small amount of offers, as normally we would get already prepared setup of RAM or hardware or hard disk. Here, thanks to OneStep, we can pretty much choose any combination of resources that is available. Thanks to that, we'll have much more offers here. The next two steps are considered next two steps are about finding the best solution. Geometry constraint problem is getting information from the model from this camel file we prepared earlier to gather to assign values to variables. At first, at this moment, this constraint problem will be quite easy, but later, when the metrics would appear during reconfiguration process, we would have much more data, and this constraint problem would be much more sophisticated. The same goes for the reasoning. The Melodic is assigning the best values for variables. So for example here, it is choosing that one worker now is sufficient. Later, it will improve or decrease the number of workers. Also, it is here finding the best approach to the best approach with hardware with virtual machines. So, for example, based on requirements that are available in the camel, like minimal value of RAM and maximal value of RAM, it chooses what fits best the application. The utility value is the metric that explains how good is the solution. We are always choosing the best. What is worth saying that we can change this function. So, for example, we can say that the best solution is the one that is the cheapest. The deploying step is very important, and this is the real moment when we are launching the virtual machines. Here Melodic is connecting to the cloud providers. We can now switch to one-step cloud panel. We need to log in, and you will see that the request has already been sent, and one step is preparing virtual machine for our application. As you can see, this is the Spark worker mentioned before. It doesn't take long, so thanks to one step, so we can wait until it is ready. As you can see, the Melodic also shows the value of RAM that is needed, CPU count that is needed for our application to be working properly. Okay, as you can see, it didn't take too long. The virtual machine is already running. We still need to wait though, as the Melodic is now installing everything that is needed on those virtual machines. It is installing also the additional software. For example, in this worker, we'll be using Docker, so Melodic is installing Docker. Also, it installs, which is extremely important, agents that are gathering information about those metrics that were defined earlier. So here we would be gathering information about RAM value, RAM utilization value, CPU utilization, and based on those values, we'll be able to determine if one worker is properly used or maybe we need more workers. Also, what I will explain later, we have other metrics that estimates the time of how long it would take to finish all those jobs, all those 500 jobs. Now I will show in Melodic, as you can see the deployment is still running, that we can quite easily, or pretty much very easy, connect to those created virtual machines. In your application, there would be a list of every component that is already running. With very ease, we can connect to it using secure connection. So we don't have to copy public keys or private key. We can do it via Melodic. And this is the terminal. And as you can see, the Docker should be already running, but I think we have to wait still. Maybe sudo is needed. You have to forgive me as maybe we need. We still need to wait a little until we see running Docker. In the meantime, I will also mention that another tool that Melodic provides, especially useful in this application, is that Spark Master is already implemented into Melodic. So we don't have to launch it separately. We can use the built-in tool, which is mentioned before Spark Master. Okay, we're still not running. We would see eventually that the application is running and it would appear the information about worker and driver. So we need to wait. See the process view. Okay, as you can see, the container is already running, so Melodic has already installed everything that is needed for it, and the container is already running. We should see then inside this window that a new worker appeared, which is here. Going back to the Melodic window, you would see that deployment has successfully finished. Now it would take a few minutes for Spark application to load everything. It is already running, but it takes a few minutes to provide those jobs to the worker. So I'll pause the recording now and we'll get back here in a few minutes. And then we would be able how the Melodic is working when the application is already running. And this part would be extremely important. Hello again. A few minutes has passed, and you can see that the Spark master has already started providing jobs to the worker. Now I am now using Grafana, which is a monitoring tool already integrated into Melodic. We can see here all the metrics that are gathered from virtual machines that are sent from the agents installed on the workers. Here you can see also the other metrics that Melodic is counting for itself to be able to determine if the reconfiguration is needed. Here you can see that estimated time for for all of those jobs to finish is more than an hour, but the time left for our application to do it is set to be 57 minutes. And based on those values, Melodic and also RAM utilization and CPU utilization of the workers, Melodic can determine how many cores are needed, how many more workers need to be started. You can see here that those are the values that it is counting. So as you can see, those values are increasing. And also on the left, you can see the number of simulations starting from almost 600, 576. This value is decreasing as worker is still doing jobs repeatedly. Based on those values, as you can see that estimated time is more than it is required, the Melodic would decide to launch the reconfiguration process. We would then go back and we will see if it started reconfiguration. As you can see, it has already started. And those steps are exactly the same as they were during the first deployment. First is reasoning, creating the constraint problem that was created earlier. Earlier is the same, but we have much more data. Now those values are, we also have information about those metrics gathered. So based on them, we have to work with new reasoning to find a new optimal solution. As you can see here, the Melodic made the decision to launch two more workers. The deploying is the moment where we are connecting again to our cloud provider, launching more virtual machines. As you can see, on the one-step cloud panel, we have already one additional worker running, and the second one is working as well. Going back to Melodic, it still needs time to install every software that is needed for worker to be properly consuming data and processing them. And in our application window, you can see that new workers appear. We'll see not far from this moment that there will be a list of 3 workers here. Need to still wait a little. As you can see, we can always connect them as the last one. Okay, you can see that the third worker is also already running. Then, when everything is done, when the deployment will be finished, the reconfiguration process, we would have more optimal solution. At the end, if, for example, Melodic would launch 5 machines and the workers would increase their ability, for example, to process the jobs, it could also make the decision, for example, to decrease the amount of workers. It would be also possible. So then we would, for example, have less costs, with less costs of real money for launching our application, which is also worth mentioning. Going back to Grafana, you can see the number of instances, the number of our workers has increased. And now the entire process repeats. The Melodic would be gathering information, how many cores are needed, and in the end, the number of estimated time would decrease. If the Melodic would compare those Melodics and find out that the time left is sufficient for us to finish it, it would stop creating more virtual machines, and we would then see the sign that it is see the sign with red, sorry, with green light, indicating that for now no reconfiguration is needed. Okay, for today this is the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention, and I hope I was able to show you how Melodic works, how easy it was to proceed with the entire application, and how many improvements we can get thanks to using Melodic. Thank you very much.